first Peer Mentor Community of Practice student panel. And the topic of this panel is on networking professionally and building a community at York. And when we talk about community from three different perspectives. We talk about an academic community, working with people who are going to help you succeed in school. We talk about a professional community, people who are going to help you find the job and the career path that gives you the most fulfillment and success. And we also talk about a social community. So the people who are going to, become your friends for a very, very long time. They're going to enrich your social experience and expand your cultural horizons. So we're going to talk about some strategies for how you can build those circles of community as a student at York. For those of you who aren't as familiar with PMCOP, each of the four colleges in the faculty of LA&PS, Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, has its own peer mentor program. And the student leaders, the upper year students who are involved in that program in all of the different colleges, come together for PMCOP. We form the peer mentor community of practice. So the idea behind this panel is to leverage all of the expertise and the knowledge that exists within our student leaders and to share that advice with incoming students or students who maybe, like me, they've been at York for a little while and most of their experience has been virtual. And now slowly we're venturing into a space where there are more in-person experiences at York. So our upper year students, our student leaders are here to share their expertise with you on how you can network and how you can build community in a virtual setting, but also moving into an in-person setting. So that's really why we're here. I'm going to pass quickly to Priya, and I'm going to ask her to deliver our personalized land acknowledgement for this event.
Thank you so much for that, Dan. So before we begin our panel, we would like to present a land acknowledgement. I want to emphasize that while a land acknowledgement is important in raising awareness of the long-standing impacts that colonial and neo-colonial practices and belief systems have had on Indigenous peoples in Canada, it is not sufficient in helping us reach the goal of truth and reconciliation. I'm just going to begin with the land acknowledgement now. This meeting is virtual, and we are not all gathered in the same space. York's land acknowledgement may not represent the territory on which you currently reside. If this is the case, please take responsibility to acknowledge traditional territories that you are on and their current treaty holders. As a member of York University, I recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Toronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It is now home to many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. It is also important that we examine the educational structures through which we contribute and continue to perpetuate different forms of oppression. As students and community members, we have a responsibility to learn about the past, open our eyes to the injustices of the present, and actively work towards a better future together. Our words must be followed by action, and it is important that we actively decolonize both our minds and spaces so that we can move towards a more inclusive world. Today, this panel is brought to you by the Liberal Arts and Professional Studies colleges at York University. Those include Founders College, New College, McLaughlin College, and Vanier College. All of the social media information and the email contact information for the colleges are displayed on your screen, and feel free to reach out and also to follow everyone on Instagram. So first I'm going to start by introducing our moderator, Fikayo. Fikayo is a fourth-year economics student. He is a peer mentor for York University's Vanier College, along with serving as the Director of Youth Engagement at the Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals. And he is also a TD Campus Ambassador for York University. Fikayo's life mandate is to impact lives and inspire people. His multiple roles at York University and his community help him fulfill that mandate by allowing him to work with students to help them reach their fullest potential.
Okay, thank you so much, Priya. This is about to be an absolutely amazing session. I'm so pumped for it. The support is crazy. So it's time to hone in on one of the most powerful career building tools, and it is networking, right? So today I'm going to be speaking about networking, and unfortunately you won't hear much about the importance of networking in your college classrooms, and it's not because you're daydreaming during the professor's lecture. It's just that professional networking doesn't really fit into organic chemistry syllabus or world literature discussions. So let's get started. What does networking even mean? Right? Like, what does it even mean? We're all familiar with social media networks, right? So you gain followers on Instagram and you add friends on Snapchat. But networking in the professional sense is similar in the sense that you are establishing a connection with people, typically like in your field. So these connections could be like your professors, like thought leaders, like experts, like working professionals, right? And the purpose of networking is to form relationships with people who will help you get to where you want to get to, right? And the earlier you start building up your network, the better. And that's why I preach the sermon of networking in college, because it helps you get prepared before you're even ready to enter the workforce. So if you're in this meeting and you're already doing a great job by learning networking, so everyone should give themselves a round of applause for even being in this meeting right now. Okay, thank you for doing that, right? So someone here may be wondering, what are the benefits of networking in college, right? So networking normally, at least when it was first introduced to me, it sounded like a bunch of small talk. So the connections you actually establish right now could result in big post-graduation opportunities, like Dan said, right? So as you build your network, you find out that connections will be routine for you. And typically they won't mind helping you because they've probably been where you are right now. And if you're looking for career guidance, industry insight, or internship leads, someone in your network can help you out. But most importantly, this network or these connections could also play an integral role in getting you a job right after York, right? So there is a study and there's a research I saw online, and I know this sounds like a lot of career expert talk, but statistics show that building a strong network creates job opportunities for you. For example, 35% of professionals say that they secured their current or most recent job through a professional connection. And on the flip side of the coin, 60% of a survey I found online said that they have referred a friend or a contact to their company. And I'm sure someone here may have done that too. So social media, referrals, word of mouth are go-to sources for new opportunities for job seekers. So if you're looking for how to network, because you've heard this before, I'm sure somewhere, you've come to the right place. Today, I'll be sharing 7 simple tips for students learning how to network. So number 1 tip is building your network in your everyday routine. You can start by actually integrating networking into your everyday activities, like engaging with your professors and classmates on Zoom. I've made some of my best friends till today from networking. And if the idea of networking is intimidating to you, you're not alone, because with motivation and dedication, you can actually start building this circle. So imagine this: your professors have taught quite a few bright students in the past, and the chances are they may still be in touch with these former students. And sometimes these former students would email their professors and maybe send them links to job openings. And if you're talking to your professors, it keeps your name in the back of their minds when these question arises of needing a job if you ask your professor. So I know in the world today, your classmates may be wearing like pajamas to Zoom lectures, right? But if you look past that, you would find out that you can actually build a nice relationship with them. And one day they might just give you the referral to get into your dream company. Number two, get involved in campus events such as this one, right? So you're doing a great job by even attending this event. There are a number of benefits when it comes to getting involved in campus events. Number one, you make friends. Number two, you get another item to add to your resume. And of course, you build your network there. And there are a ton of ways to get involved on campus, like joining clubs, like being a peer mentor, like volunteering, like just joining different clubs at York. So there's so much opportunity. But not only would you be able to connect with other students or members of clubs, you'll be able to connect with speakers, mentors, and advisors. And York always has network events, and they have seminars, they have job fairs, and that's literally York's way of handing you a full plate of contacts that you can network with. So I hope y'all are listening and you're taking notes, for real. So if you're enjoying the session so far, say yes in the chat. And if you're not, you don't need to say yes. But third thing I want to say is take a virtual trip to your campus career center, right? So take a virtual trip, like if you're in Glendon, then do the online campus career center at Glendon. But if you're in Kiel, then do the online campus career center at Kiel, right? York has the career center full of free resources, and Jody is going to put a link in the chat on the York Career Center. So that's going to be amazing. But someone here may be asking, do I really need this? Yes, you do need it. You can find internships, you can find job opportunities posted by the alumni. You can get tips on how to build your online presence. You can participate in mock job interviews, which are so helpful, by the way. And you can learn about upcoming job fairs. And even if you're not actively looking for a job right now, it doesn't hurt to stop by these online job fairs and touch base with recruiters. Give them your resume, have conversations, learn what's going on in their industry, and see where the potential future lies. So the fourth tip I have here is developing your online presence. This is something I'm very, very big on. You must make sure you use LinkedIn. I absolutely love the LinkedIn platform. Does anyone have LinkedIn here? If you have LinkedIn in the chat, raise your hand. And if you don't, is fine, but you should get it like right now. LinkedIn really gives you the ability to showcase your profile, expertise. You can give recommendations. People can also give you recommendations, and you can connect with people that like you won't be able to connect with normally, right? You can connect with CEOs, CMOs, you can connect with top level people. LinkedIn also allows you to demonstrate credibility in your industry, and you can highlight your achievements there. I personally primarily use LinkedIn to share my story. My life mandate is to impact lives and inspire people, and I use LinkedIn to honestly do just that. Like on my LinkedIn, I just share my personal experiences in various areas, like doing my first keynote or being a peer mentor, and sometimes I use it to share opportunities for students to actualize their own potential. And what I'm just trying to do is to show people that regardless of whoever they are, wherever they're from, they can land their dream opportunity. So another thing I also love about LinkedIn is that you get organic reach. So you can reach a lot of people from diverse backgrounds if you have the right content. So I've gotten amazing opportunities from LinkedIn, and that's why I'm I'm emphasizing a lot on LinkedIn, because I think every single student here should get that platform. I've gotten a recruiter reached out to me. I became a climate leader at Youth Challenge International. And how did I get the gig? One of the coordinators reached out to me on LinkedIn. I became director of youth engagement at the Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals. How did I get the gig? I found it on LinkedIn, and I reached out to one of the executives on LinkedIn, and the rest is history. So in my opinion, LinkedIn is the mecca of networking. So if you don't have LinkedIn or you barely know how to use it, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to effectively use LinkedIn to get more opportunities. So make sure you get your notes out or you get your phone out and start typing. Number one, make sure you are engaging with other people's content. Make sure you're liking and commenting and sharing their own posts. Number two, find your unique voice and be authentic. You don't need to, like if you're not into finance, you don't need to post anything about finance. If you're not into marketing, you don't need to post anything about marketing. You may just like playing guitar, or you may just like tech, or you may just like baking. Like find your own unique voice, be yourself, and share your experience. Number three, focus on giving value, right? So focus on giving your audience value, teach them stuff, show them how to do stuff, right? Number four, connect with more people. Connect with people you share similar interests with. If you like basketball, then connect with, like, I guess, the NBA page on LinkedIn, right? So number five, have a high quality inviting profile picture, right? So a picture that shows you smiling, a picture that when you see it, you want other people to connect with you. So pick a picture that makes you look friendly, warm, and open to conversations. And as you can tell, I'm a big advocate for LinkedIn. I absolutely love the platform. And if you haven't joined, make sure you join. You get to really leverage your social media profile, and not only on LinkedIn, like Instagram, Twitter, all platforms. Just make sure your profile is pristine and has like a, I guess, professional eye, right? And York has an alumni page you can follow that is helpful for networking. So typically the alumni page will also provide job openings and postings, and then they also post stuff for like undergraduates to help them establish a good network. Number five, be open to new connections. Number six, don't be afraid to make the first move. Confidence is something that will take you a long way. So don't treat networking like a game of who can make the most connections on LinkedIn, or like how many resumes can you pass around. Don't do that. Instead, try and take a keen interest on who you're talking to. Who are they? Like, get to really actually know them, right? So try and remember important information about them. So if you're having trouble like keeping up with the conversation, like I'm making the conversation flow, start asking some thoughtful questions like, how did you get the position you're currently in? Or like, what does your day-to-day look like, right? Don't ask like vague questions, like ask specific and thoughtful questions. Or a question like, any advice for a young student looking to get into the industry, basketball industry, or whatever industry you're trying to get into. Number seven, the last tip I have is maintain your current network. So I can't emphasize enough about the fact that networking is more than just collecting business cards or like passing out your resume or sending requests on LinkedIn. It's actually hard work. So you would want to invest some time in maintaining your current network. And if you meet someone like at a job fair or online, or like if you message a recruiter, when you have that conversation with them, send an email to them afterwards and let them know it was a pleasure meeting with them. And even though, let's say, the recruiter doesn't have that ideal position available right now, let them know you appreciated the time that they spent like speaking with you. And if you really want them to remember you, add in like something personal you learned from like your conversation while the two of you were talking, right? And it will show that not only you paid attention, but you also learned something valuable from the connection. So those are my 7 tips. Thank you very much for listening. And if anyone learned anything, put it in the chat. So yeah, now I'm going to be introducing the panelists. We have our amazing panelists right here. So first person I have is Amrin Amelo. She is a 5th year student pursuing honors double major in both history and geography, as well as the Bachelor of Education. She's also in the concurrent education program, and for the past year was her first year of Teachers College. In the future, she aspires to have her own classroom and be a high school history and geography teacher. Can we give a round of applause for Amrin? Next guest we have is Shantae. She's a fourth-year student pursuing a bachelor's in communication and media studies, and she has a passion for helping people, and she ensures that everyone is treated fairly under the law. She hopes to attend law school after completing her first degree. Can we give a warm welcome to Shantae? And the last panelist we have tonight is Acha. She is a fourth year in this interdisciplinary social science student in the Department of LA&PS. If y'all don't know what LA&PS, I don't know. LA&PS is Liberal Arts and Professional Studies. She's a McLaughlin College peer mentor and is active in the Student Council of LA&PS as a student senator. Can we give a round of applause for Acha? And yet, so I'm just going to be asking them a few questions, to get to know more about networking, and Amrin can start and Acha can end it. So the first question I'm going to ask is, and I hope everyone's camera is on. Fantastic. Okay, first question I'm going to ask is, a common perception of networking is that it can only be done in a professional setting, right? Which I basically said, but what connections have you made in, I guess, your personal lives, and have you made in like unconventional ways that ended up serving you well in the future?
So when I got to university, the first thing I did was join Frosh. I participated in my Frosh, and honestly, it really played an integral part of shaping my university experience, but also shaping the person I am today. I was a very, very shy person going into university, and I'm definitely not that shy anymore. But I kind of networked through joining Frosh, playing in intramural sports, and joining clubs. So I participated in my own Frosh, which allowed me to make friends within the college. And through that, I was able to play sports. I love soccer, so I got to play soccer, as well as Frisbee and volleyball, even though that's not my favorite. And I even captained the soccer team in my third year. So that was very exciting for me. And I also joined clubs. So I was a part of Founders College Student Council. I was the director of academics in my third year, so 2019, 2020. And I also served on Federazione Canadese Italiana, which is the Italian club. And I was the director of athletics. So I kind of just got involved. And every year since my Frosh, I've been a Frosh leader. And that has been an absolutely amazing experience. So if you haven't done that yet, honestly, I would suggest it. And if, Frosh isn't your thing, I would definitely suggest getting involved in sports or even clubs. And if you don't find a club that you like, you could actually make one. So that's really cool.
I actually didn't know that. I didn't know you could actually make a club. I wouldn't even go to that. But anyway, yeah, y'all should definitely join Frosh. Honestly, y'all should definitely. I was a Frosh leader too, and it was amazing. I got to meet like so many people, and I know some people are in this chat right now that I met at Frosh. So thank y'all for coming. I won't call you out. But anyway, Shantae, what experiences have you had, like unconventional ways that ended up serving you well by networking?
Right. So thank you, Fikayo. So just adding on, mine is pretty similar to Amrin's, but a little different. I have two specific examples that I do want to touch on. So the first one for me, especially now that we've been in like this online setting for about 2 years, I've really been trying to make the most out of like the online platform. So for me, I wasn't really a big fan of Facebook before, but now I'm starting to like get involved with Facebook, and like I've joined groups and just like found a lot of different people on through Facebook. So how I found the group that I'm currently involved in on Facebook was through YouTube, actually, because I love to watch YouTube on my free time. So there's this page, this particular individual, her videos are very interesting to me. I kept up with her, and then she decided to form a community. And obviously, like, I wasn't thinking too much of it, but I joined her community on Facebook. And through that community, I was able to meet a lot of other young women who were like pretty much like interested in the same like career path as me, and I didn't know that before joining. So like I would reach out to them, I would talk to them. They've been very helpful. Some of them don't even live here in Canada, like they live in the States, but they've been very helpful. They've helped me with like trying to navigate LinkedIn. So something like that, like I enjoy YouTube, but then it led to something a little bit more professional, which I think like we should all like, make use of social media now, especially in the time of like the pandemic where we're stuck online. Just try to see like how you can really learn to like connect with people of like similar interests to you, because you never know how like where it would lead you. And my other like example is like volunteering. I think oftentimes when we're in university and we want to volunteer, we often go to volunteer at places that we think will help with our career path. But I volunteered at like women's shelter and food banks, and I think those places I've met people surprisingly that are like very helpful. And even at these like the food banks and the women's shelters, sometimes they have openings for different positions that you may be interested in like working for. So I think when we volunteer, don't try so hard to just volunteer at places that we think are gonna bring us to our career, but rather like be open to volunteer to different places, because you never really know where that can lead to. So those are two examples that stood out to me, especially in the last like past 2 years with everything that's been going on.
Yep, those are amazing points. I'm definitely all for volunteering. Y'all should definitely listen to Shantae. And volunteer for things that you are actually passionate about. Like I keep on mentioning baking and basketball, but those are the only things coming to my head right now. Like you could start like a baking club, like do stuff that you're actually passionate about, So Acha.
Yeah, I'd say more speaking like academically, I think attending your professor's office hours is also very beneficial as well. For instance, last year I made it a point to meet each of my professors during their office hours after the first initial lecture or seminar. And as a shy, nervous person, that really took the pressure off, because I was able to have an assigned reading already, so I could talk to my professor about that. And then as I was introducing myself, I could even mention my plans for the future as well. And then I could ask my professor if they were engaged in any research. And then also when you kind of get that ball rolling, then you can even, gain some valuable advice from your professor in terms of what career advice they can give you for your particular field of study as you keep, talking with them. So I found that to be really, really helpful. And actually that was my personal experience when I was dealing with one of my professors last year in a capstone course. So I made sure to keep our conversations regular, whether that's by email or by Zoom during her office hours. And then that, helped me to gain like a research position with her in the summer. And also I was featured in a Wi-Fi article, which is like the campus newsletter with her as well. So, try not to limit yourself to like just professional settings. An exchange of information and ideas can be done in unconventional ways, even with your professor during their office hours.
Okay, I have another question here, and this is something that is actually dear to me. Like throughout my whole university experience, I was all about being involved for whatever reason. Honestly, now, like I'm like a preacher for it, but when I started, I didn't have any legitimate reason for doing this. So I want to ask all the panelists, like, how has like building a community impacted your experience at university? I can tell you about mine. I don't think I would have enjoyed university at all if all I did was go to school and come back. Like I wouldn't have enjoyed university at all. So I would start with Shantae. Like, how has building a community impacted your university experience?
Thanks, Kyle. Adding on to what you said, I do agree. I think like my experiences, so like the communities that I got involved with, they've really helped for me to create an experience at York, because York is a really big school. So if you don't like get involved with like a community or something that you're interested in, I do think you can tend to feel like really lost or lonely on such a big campus. So for me personally, when I started in first year, I was like kind of shy. I'm still very shy, but like I'm like, okay, what can I do to get myself a little bit more involved and to like feel like I have a community here? So like I started to like be a little bit more involved with founders, with UCI, as well as like I had volunteered for YFS Red Pack, which is where they have the open houses each spring. So things like that kind of helped me to really feel like I was a part of a community. And then do these clubs or these programs, I was able to meet people who like academically could help me with my classes, because then I wasn't so alone in my classes. I knew people. So then I got help with like my studies. I didn't feel like I was struggling on my own. Professional, same thing. You were able to meet like, you get close to like professors or other students who may have a little bit of connection, and they can put you on to like different jobs or internships, anything like that that you're interested in. And obviously the social aspect, like you want to, when you leave university, you want to like remember like the time that you had there. You want to be able to talk about like the good times, not just school. So I think like for me personally, like when I started to get involved in these different communities, I felt like my experience got better. Had I not, I don't think it would have felt like this now, me being in my fourth year, because York is such a huge school. So I do encourage everyone to just find, even if it's just one or two communities that you feel you may enjoy or that you fit in with, just like go into it, like try something else, and you'll be surprised at how it really enhances your experience at university.
Yep. And one thing I also want to leave in here is the fact that in a lot of my classes last semester and previous semesters, I used to message people on Zoom and make group chats, and that helped my grades, right? So I would make like the class group chat. So I've figured out that making that class group chat, if you have like a question, you know, and you're trying to figure out this calculus problem or anything, you just put it in the chat and everybody like helps you figure it out, right? So that's something like if y'all are in classes right now and you're stuck, try and make a class group chat, and they've saved my degree, I'm telling you. So Acha, on to you.
Yeah, to echo Shantae's point, I always like to say that it's important to try to get to know the people you think will change the world someday, and like what better place than university. So in my first year, while I wasn't too heavily involved, I was trying to focus on my academics and see how much I can kind of add to what I was already doing. From my second year onwards, that's when I really started to make a push towards extracurriculars. So for instance, I was really heavily involved the Law and Society Students Association, otherwise known as LA&PS, and also the York University Black Future Lawyers Program, which is a chapter from the University of Toronto. So I really focused on those two clubs as I was going through university. So for example, with like the Law and Society Students Association, I was like responsible for, planning club events and outreach. And then when I switched on to the vice president role, I was even involved with organizing an event with Brian Greenspan, who's a very prominent criminal defense lawyer in Toronto. And these opportunities, yes, improved my communication skills, but I also got to network with articling students and lawyers in some of Toronto's largest law firms. So I think just getting involved in these little ways may not seem like anything too much, planning events, going to these law firms, but really it's a great opportunity to network. So I'd say try something like that. And then with the Black Futures Lawyers Program, which is at York University, I was exposed to the University of Toronto, which was also like the parent company or like the parent organization for it. And so they have a mentorship program where essentially you're paired with a Black lawyer in Toronto for about 8 months, and they can kind of help you with like professional experience if you want to go to law school. So I was paired with the Attorney General of Ontario, the Attorney General. And that was really helpful as well, because he was able to impart, different experiences that he's had and different pitfalls that he's had. So I was able to kind of apply those and make sure not to make the same mistakes that he did. And he helped me with different, questions involving like the LSAT and how to apply to law school, how to apply to graduate school. So I found that to be really, really helpful. And he even ended up being one of my, letters of recommendation for graduate school. So, I say, of course, don't limit yourself, whether that be on campus, off campus. There's so many different ways that you can get involved. And like I said, get to know the people who you think might change the world someday. With Law and Society, I was actually exposed to it because I was in a class where the president of Law and Society was actually in there. So one day after class, we had a study group and he said, oh, how about you come by and check out, the office. So I went to go check by the office and I met a few of the executives, and that's how I kind of got going with that club. So yeah, just, try to get involved on campus and find like-minded individuals who also have a great appreciation for your interest as well.
Wow. I was blown away, honestly, and I see the importance of networking and mentorship in your story, Acha. Like, they give you the key on getting more and more opportunities. So definitely more and more people should be doing this. Amran.
So, yeah, as was said before, there's a million ways to network, and you know, a lot of them could be really, really fun. So, mine was more through Frosh, right? So I participated in my Frosh, and then you know, my leaders, I got to meet a lot of people who were in my program, people who were in my year and I had class with, which helped me develop an academic circle, as well as people who are older than me, right? And who've, you know, done the history courses, they've done the geo courses, they've been in teachers college before. They're like, oh, this is what you're kind of like gonna do when you're my age. And I'm like, oh, cool. So you actually learn a lot through just kind of talking to people and like hanging around the college. So that was one of my favorite parts of Frosh, meeting people that are in the same program as you, because whether you are now in the role of talking to a Froshie and saying, oh, you know what, I've been there before, like take this course, this professor is awesome, or someone else is telling me, oh my God, you would love this course. So that's excellent. And then, you know, you have friends in class. Additionally, social circles, Frosh really helped me with that. My group of friends, still the ones that were in my Frosh year, I love them to death. And I'm so grateful for them. We went through our entire university experience together. All of us were Frosh leaders. We all got heavily involved in the college in sports as well. And most of us were on Founders College Student Council too. So I was really lucky to have them. We all really had similar interests. And in regards to professional circles, through being around the college and, you know, being on council, I was able to join and volunteer as a peer mentor. And then this past year, I got hired as a peer mentor leader, and I absolutely love it. I love working with our master's office, Founders College. Love you guys so much. And yeah, I've been able to grow so much and kind of like just come out of my shell fully and really develop. So community building, especially at a place like York, is really important, because York can feel like a really, really big place. But when you start to hang around and know people and meet people with the same interests or even in the same classes, it doesn't feel so big anymore. It kind of feels like a small village. And I really like that feeling. So I definitely promote that. If you haven't done that yet, it's not too late to get involved. It's not too late to be a Frosh leader, or, you know, find councils or clubs that fit your interests. So definitely do it.
Just to piggyback of what you said, like I have a question on like what advice will you give students? A question for all the panelists, like what advice will you give students who are shy and hesitant to like put themselves out there? Because York is a huge school, right? And it can get very daunting, and you know, like even with online like learning, like how do you what advice will you give students on how to, I guess, meet more people or network or just put themselves out there when you don't have any friends or something, you know? So I guess Acha could start.
Yeah, I'd like to tackle this one because I am a very shy person. And something that I found that really helps me academically and professionally is just being prepared. So, you know, this is something that you can do, you know, online as we are right now, or you're in person. So I like to prepare 3 general questions as well, just so I kind of go in, you know, a little prepared, you know, so I can kind of take the pressure off. So I like to ask, you know, what made you want to pursue your field? Or, you know, what advice would you give to someone who's in their 3rd year and has some time before graduating? Or how can I make the most of my time at university to prepare for my life after graduating? And something that I like with these questions is that it can be applied, like I said, academically or professionally. So you can use that with your professor, or you can use that if you're going to a networking event as well. And then let's say if you're trying to, you know, network with someone who's senior to you, I always found this really intimidating, whether that be a professor or, you know, the CEO, Fakai, as you mentioned, of let's say, you know, the NBA or something. So I found that really hard. But remember, networking is an exchange and you want to build it before you meet it. So I would say, you know, try to offer information as well. So what does that look like? It could look like, you know, like I mentioned, office hours. So you want to demonstrate your knowledge of course concepts. You want to expand on them. You know, you want to maybe even discuss what you found online lately, whether that be, you know, a news article, a new law, a new policy. And then you want to offer your perspective as well. because I find that professors really value your perspective and your insights, and they're eager to hear what you have to say as well. Like I said, that helped me, and I was able to land a research position and even a work study position. So, you know, don't limit yourself. I know it can be a little hard, but always try to think of networking as an exchange, not what you can get, but also what you can share.
That was amazing advice, honestly. I'm taking notes. The next person I want to call on is Shantae.
Okay, thanks, Vicario. So yeah, just adding on to what Akshay said, like I do agree, you really have to like put yourself out there, but there's so many, I think when it comes to putting yourself out there, there's really no like box. For example, for me, I feel like I'm very, very, very shy. So what has helped me, especially through university and just going to work, is really being informed. I think when you're informed, you're less shy because you have an idea. Like if you keep up with the news, you'll be able to like take part in conversations. If you know a little bit about sports, you can take part in that. Art, same thing. So I just think for me personally, I think it's just important to be informed in different areas so that when people are having conversations, you can add in, you won't feel like, oh, I don't really belong or I don't fit in. It's just being informed that will help a lot, as well as challenging yourself. Like it could be like every month you could be, okay, I'm going to sign up for this event where I have to speak. Like challenge yourself in different ways. Don't just be like, okay, I'm going to go to this event like this month and nothing else for the next 5 months. Like really challenge yourself and stick to it. Do things that you wouldn't normally do. Talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to. I think then we build our confidence and we're a little less shy. But I think the number one thing is to really just be informed, as well as to challenge yourself like on a monthly basis to just do different things that you wouldn't normally do. And then you will see like, you know, you'll feel more confident in yourself.
Yep, you heard it. Leaving your comfort zone. I think that's what it's called. Like that is very, very important. Amran.
Yes. So when I actually left high school, I made a pact with myself. I didn't play sports. I wasn't on camels. And, you know, my high school experience was okay, but it wasn't like the best because I didn't make the most out of it. So I also want to be a teacher. So I have to be able to be, I mean, not shy. You can't stand in front of a class and like cry because you don't want to talk in front of the class, right? You have to take charge of the room. So I made a pact with myself and I left high school and I said, okay, you know, you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I did that through Frosh. I have a twin brother, but we weren't in the same college. So I was all by myself. I had no friends, no nothing. And I was like, okay, you got to make friends. You got to talk to people. And that for me was forcing myself out of my comfort zone. And that really helped me to grow. Like me pushing myself out of my comfort zone was the only thing that made me grow. And every year and every month, I tried to do more, you know, be involved in sports. Even if I wasn't good, I am a horrible soccer player, but I went and I played every single game. And when I got knocked down, I stood back up. But I would truthfully encourage you to push yourself out of your comfort zone because it is the only way to grow. And it is the only way to, you know, just continue on being your best self. Like I push myself every day. Right now, I'm actually shaking because I don't like public speaking, but I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So, and you know what? Online, it's actually even easier. In Teachers College, one of my now friends, she DM'd me privately on Zoom. She's like, I think we have a few classes together. Could we be friends? And I still talk to that girl every day. So I definitely encourage pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I encourage you to just put yourself out there in any way that you can, because truthfully, it's worth it. I've grown so much. I've learned so much. It's allowed me to do so many things and meet so many people. So I'm so grateful that I took that first step and went to Frosh. So find your first step and take it as soon as you can.
I'm honestly so proud of you. You know, like you're pushing yourself right now and you're doing an amazing job. Honestly, if y'all feel like she's doing an amazing job, tell her in the chat, publicly and privately. Honestly, y'all are killing it. Can we give a round of applause for our panelists? Woohoo! Okay, last question. How do you use social media for networking and community building? I've touched up a bit on this for LinkedIn, but y'all could definitely chime in. Amran, you can start again.
So I use social media I always follow all of the college accounts, and I also follow the club accounts that I'm affiliated with or I like. So for example, I follow the Italian Club on Instagram. I also follow the Peer Mentor Network for founders and everyone else too. Love you guys. And I also follow, any colleges, because especially now in the age of social media, the fact that we're online, everyone is posting events, links to events, or they're promoting through their Instagrams. So keeping an eye on Instagram, even Facebook, will really help kind of inform you. And I think most colleges also send their constituents a weekly email blast, which kind of like outline what's happening for that week, and it'll include the college events as well as the events that the master's office is holding, or at least founders does that. So I would definitely suggest going to follow your college accounts, even, or if you're not affiliated with that college, you can still follow them and even attend their events if you'd like, just whatever interests you. So I definitely suggest following everyone on Instagram and turning their notifications on so you know what's going on.
Yep. I also want to ask Shantae.
Yeah, just adding on to what Amran said, like I do agree that it is important to follow the pages that you're interested in, because obviously that's the way to keep up with them. But I think another thing is to like not just follow them, but make sure that you're an active follower. So a lot of pages now, they're doing like polls, or they'll have like surveys just to like get followers feedback. I'd like advise everyone to really take part in them, like take part in the poll, take part in the surveys. If they have, like, I know I followed this was like a university run like account. I don't know if they're as active right now, but they do different things where they want, like, they have like cast calling, so like you can sign up for anyone that you're interested in, and you actually get to meet them, take part in the videos that they make. So things like that, I think, follow these pages, but also make sure that you're an active follower, that you know what's going on, you're actually like taking part in like their polls, their surveys. Reach out to them, DM them. A lot of them are willing to answer you, so just make sure that like you're not just following, but you're actually like active as well. I think that's like my number one thing with social media that has helped me.
Fantastic. And Acha.
Yeah, I'm actually just scrolling through the chat, and there was someone, forgive me for my pronunciation, was it Aisha or Aisha, who had a great question, and she was talking about, what if you're kind of strapped for time, but you still want to network? So something that I like to do is I try to limit myself to one networking event a month. And so oftentimes you guys might get those emails from York University. I believe it's like a general newsletter. And at the bottom, there's a section for the Career Center, where it'll often have, different networking events that are to come. Or another way that I like to do that is even through Eventbrite. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but if you go on eventbrite.com and type in just simply networking in Toronto, it'll give you a whole series of different events going on. So I just like to save that in my calendar, just like, hey, this month, on the 17th, I'm going to be networking then. And I find that to be quite helpful, and then building my schedule around that. Another thing that I like to use is LinkedIn. I think that's an excellent networking tool. And it's not just about, gaining connections and adding as much as you can, but also like sowing little seeds that eventually might lead to like a very healthy, a professional relationship. So like, for example, if I know there's someone in my field that I really want to network with, I start by like following them on social media, let's say LinkedIn. And then I just think of like little thoughtful ways to engage. So that could look like, liking a post that someone shared or linked, or sharing a post myself on LinkedIn, or just asking like a really short, thoughtful follow-up question based on something that someone else shared. So those are just like little ways you can do that. And then also kind of going back to, I'm strapped for time, how do I network? I would say try to foster the relationships that you already have. So, shoot your professor or, a manager you used to work with, or a community organization you used to work with, shoot them a short email, periodically, just to check in. And you can share an article that you found, quite relevant or something like that. And I think it's a really great way to kind of keep and create a connection. And it just shows that you're on their radar as well. So let's say if an opportunity comes up and they want to offer it to you, let's say they might not have an opportunity, but they might know someone else who has an opportunity that could help you as well. So for example, in 2020, I used to volunteer for a nonprofit organization called the Urban Alliance on Race Relations, or UARR. And I used to work as a workshop facilitator for the Black community. And then, once the program was completed, I just continued to keep in touch with the program's coordinator, just like letting her know about different things I found on the news, or, checking in to see how she was doing over the New Year's, things like that. And that resulted in her offering me a position as a research assistant just last summer. So, you can definitely leverage the online tools such as LinkedIn or other social media platforms like during the pandemic, and then try to expand that and strengthen them to kind of just expand your network a little bit more widely.
Wow. Wow. That's actually amazing that you got the opportunity. Thank you so much, panelists, for answering those questions and for enlightening us. Y'all have got some amazing experiences under your belt. It's Q&A time, so we'll be opening up questions for everyone. Everyone in the audience can ask the panelists questions. So if you have any question, you can, put it in the chat or raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask the question.
I'm gonna chime in for just 2 moments here. So I want to open up the question and answer very shortly, but I also want to thank all of the participants. I want to thank all of you for attending. I want to thank you for your questions. I want to thank you for your positive encouragement in the chat. And one of the ways that LA&PS would like to show that thanks is by having a small giveaway. So for all of the participants who were on the call, when you came onto the call, we entered your names into a random draw onto a wheel. So we're going to try right now to spin that wheel. And if your name comes up, what I'd like you to do, please, is to send me a direct message on the Zoom call with your name and your York U email address. We're going to have 2 winners, and both of the winners will receive a $50 gift card to the York bookstore. So I'm going to try to open the wheel just a second. And I think it put random names into the wheel. Just a second. Oh, brilliant. Okay, here is our wheel. So we're going to spin the wheel twice. And if it lands on your name, please send me a direct message because you are a winner. Well done. There's our first winner. And we'll have one more. Nice job. Well done, Elsie. So if the 2 winners could send me a message with your York email address, I'll make sure that we follow up with you, and we'll make sure you get your prize. You'll have $50 to the York bookstore. So thank you so much for attending. Please send me a direct message. Okay, I'm going to put the share back up. Just 1 second. And we're here, but I don't think we're in the presenter view. So just hold on. Oh, did they really put us at the beginning? Okay, just a second. I got to get back to where we were.
Well, congrats to the winners, Elsie and Mosun. Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. So you can definitely start asking your questions. You can put your hand up. You can ask it in the chat. And I have some questions myself for the panelists. So I don't know how it's going to start, but I'm actually. Let me start with Acha. How do you balance like schoolwork and how do you balance like academics and like networking itself, like, or having like a social life, right? Because that's is always a blur.
I use a planner. I don't go anywhere without it. I have it right beside me always. But I find it's a great way to stay organized. But also to kind of touching back to what I previously mentioned, like in my first year, I wasn't too involved. And it's not that I didn't want to be involved. It's just that I was just trying to like, navigate and see, how my classes were going and how I was transitioning into university, just to see how much the workload was and how much I could manage. And then once second year kind of came along, that's when I started to pick up one or two clubs. Something that I find really helpful too in terms of managing my time is not kind of overbooking or, joining too many clubs. I find sometimes, that can be a problem as well, but I try to limit myself to 2 or 3 clubs, with my schoolwork and adding everything into my planner. I find that really helps me to stay organized and making sure that, the commitments that I'm making, I'm actually fulfilling those commitments as well in terms of their duties and responsibilities. So yeah, that's been my experience.
Dope. I think I should get a planner too. I use a reminder, but it's not working that well. Ria, do you have a question? I think Clifton has a question too. Ria, do you have a question?
Yeah, Clifton, you go ahead.
Clifton.
It's okay. You can go ladies first. My mom would kill me if I went ahead of you. Trust me. And she's listening.
No worries. I was actually going to ask a question I saw earlier in the chat about mature students specifically. And I guess this even applies to, students who are managing, different jobs and extracurricular activities in addition to schoolwork. So networking might be something that people put on the back burner. So when it comes to kind of managing that balance and considering how networking is important for the future and for your career, how can people really find time to do something like this? In addition to managing your time and all, why should this be a priority?
I could chime in, and I guess one of the panelists can go first. I think networking will change your life, right? And I'm just being like honest, like networking has changed my own life. One thing that it can get time consuming, right? You can be on LinkedIn or maybe 2 hours or something, or Instagram for a bunch of hours, but you should have like a schedule. I have a schedule personally of I want to respond to or comment on 10 people's posts on LinkedIn, right? Or I want to post on LinkedIn every single day, right? Like when you schedule, like, your networking, then it makes sense. And you shouldn't, it's not about how many posts you make or how many like connections you have or how many followers you have on. It's about quality as opposed to quantity, right? So, and you should be looking to, give some value too. It shouldn't be a one-way relationship. So like, and networking doesn't just have to be with the professional or the CEO, right? It could be anybody around you. You don't know what they're doing, right? And they could give you that life-changing advice. So it should be like an everyday routine for you. You shouldn't look at it from a strictly professional point of view. You could be getting a coffee or something, and then you just say hello and make the first move, and you end up with a lifelong friend, or they help you with this career changing advice. So that's my own 2 cents. Does any of the panelists want to chime in?
For me, it was as simple as, just kind of hanging around Founders College after class, or if you have time between classes. Now we're going back to university campus, thank God. So, between your classes, if you have time, maybe hang around and just talk to people on council, even swing by your master's office and say hello. For me, our master's office, we're really lucky to have them. Marco always, since my first year, he's like, if anyone needs an espresso, if anyone needs a coffee, come join us, come hang out for a little bit. And it's just those simple steps that kind of allowed me to network in between classes, or even, just shortly after class. And for me, it was also part of my community. I was talking to my friends, people who are older than me, who have been in certain classes, or even classes I was in with them. So it's just, simple stuff. Or join a sport even, right? If you like soccer, you could talk to people on the soccer team. Oh my God, you're in that class too? No way. Now you have a study buddy, or someone with the same interest as you or something. So it's just those little steps that you can kind of take, or even, following people on Instagram and be like, I saw you as a frosh leader and I had some questions, would you be able to help me with something? Or like, what's your advice on this? What's your take on this? It's just those simple steps that take literally like 5 minutes. So I think that there's a misconception with networking that it has to be like a scheduled event, and realistically it could kind of happen anywhere.
Clifton, your hand is raised. You can ask your question.
Thank you. How do I say your name? Fiaco?
No, Fikayo.
Fikayo, my apologies. My
No.
brother, Fikayo. By the way, I love your energy, love your positivity, love your enthusiasm. I read something recently that really inspired me, because I like to think I have some of those attributes, and it was from Barack Obama. And he said, enthusiasm makes up for a lot of deficiencies. And I just thought that was really, I thought that was really prophetic, right? Because, when you bring enthusiasm, it brings other people to the table with you. And that's all, part of networking too. Great job, panel. That was some amazing information. I'm new to York, mature student back to school. So it's great, especially in this environment, to connect with people. I just have a quick question for each of the panelists. Let me start with I'm always, again, I know I'm going to mispronounce this. Achua? Achai?
Close. Acha.
Acha. Thank you.
No worries.
I loved what you said about meet somebody that's going to change the world. And again, especially with all the other follow-up questions about time limitations and time management, which is all part of being a student again. And I was wondering about, you had mentioned the Black Student Lawyer Program that's affiliated with U of T. Is that still ongoing, or is that still, I haven't seen it in any of my York travels yet. So is that a program that's still in place now? Do you know?
Yeah, so there's two programs actually I want to mention. So the one that you're mentioning is the Black Future Lawyers Program. So I'll include a link down in the chat after as well.
Okay.
And so it's actually founded by the University of Toronto. So they made the announcement, I believe they started in either 2017 or 2018. They're on City News when they made the debut. And, over the years, they started to make different chapters. So there's York University, there's McMaster, I believe Ryerson just started up and going, Queens. So there's a lot of different chapters around Ontario. And essentially what it is, for 8 months, you're paired with a lawyer, a Black lawyer specifically within Toronto. And they can share, professional, academic, and like social advice for you as well. So that's a program that I was involved with. And you specifically sign up through the University of Toronto's Black Future Lawyer website. And they reach out to you shortly with, a brief questionnaire of, any certain interest that you're into. So are you into, intellectual property law, or like, health law, or, tort litigation, things like that. And they can pair you with someone in that field. And like I mentioned, I found that to be extremely, extremely, extremely helpful. And he ended up being one of my letters of recommendation just a few weeks ago. So it's a great program. And then the second program that specifically deals with York University is actually quite new. And I see some of my fellow colleagues who are on the call with this. And it's called the Advancing You program. So Advancing YU. And this is a new program that just started this year. And there's two streams. So there's like a Black stream, and there's also a women's stream. So depending which program or which stream that you choose, you're paired with not just a lawyer, but anyone in a professional sphere, whether that be a woman or a Black professional person. And same thing, they can offer different advice to you. You get to do, or you get to attend specific events as well on campus. So you have to attend a professional event and a personal event. So something like a mental health, or, career building, how to make, draft the perfect cover letter, things like that. And then you meet with your mentor as well. And that program is great too, because yes, it's York University who throws this program, but also you receive a $1,000 scholarship for your participation as well. So It's a great program. I'll link those down below in a bit. But yeah, so that's the Black Future Lawyers program, specifically from University of Toronto, and then the Advancing You program, which is for York University.
Thank you.
Yeah,
very valuable, very valuable information. What are you doing now, by the way?
Like which programs I'm involved in?
Like no, like sorry, where are you in your educational journey right now?
Oh yeah, so I'm wrapping up my 4th year. I just have a class left, and thank God I'll be done. And then I'm applying for my master's right now. So I applied to a few schools, like business related, and also more like socio-legal, criminology, public policy, kind of all over Ontario. But my hope is to stay in Toronto. And then once my master's is done, to pursue law school. So that's kind of my 5-year plan.
Okay. You were saying about the reference letters, right? So
yeah.
There's this for graduate school. Okay.
Yeah, so for graduate school. So right now I'm applying to graduate school, and then I'll be writing my LSAT this year.
It just reminds me of a lesson I've learned along the way. They always say, if you want to know the path forward, speak and network with people who've been there already.
Yeah.
And they will provide that path forward for you. So,
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. If I can just ask Amarin, I think it's Amarin, quickly.
Amarin.
And thank you.
No problem.
I'm terrible with names. I was going to ask. Oh, the importance of, again, being New York, just getting used to everything. What's the importance of being affiliated with your colleges and doing work with the college or volunteer for college events? Like I'm in McLaughlin and I get all these messages of stuff. Do people at York sort of, is that like your foundation? Is that a stronghold of something that I should look to do?
Well, personally, it allowed me to meet people who were in my major and in my program. And from there, I made friends. And I also was like able to make an academic circle through first years or people who were in the same year as me in classes together. Or, you know, even people who are older than me and who have taken certain classes before. I have 2 people that I automatically go to whenever I go pick courses. And I call them and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of taking this course and this course. Like, what do you think about that? Like, what was your experience? So that allowed me to like, just, you know, kind of get a sense of like what, it just really helped me out in my degree, especially I'm a double major and there's not exactly, like there's no guide that tells you like what you should take for each major to make everything coincide and go nicely and smoothly. So it's kind of like, you know, putting the pieces of 2 puzzles together at the same time. So having those people who are older than me kind of guide me in a way really, really helped. And getting involved in my college just, again, allowed me to meet people who had the same interests of me just because we were in the same major or we wanted to be teachers as well. So I would suggest, you know, exploring what McLaughlin has to offer. There's definitely people who are in your program and maybe have the same interests as you and can either, you know, guide you or even like befriend you. And I've made so many friends through just hanging around founders. So I would definitely suggest that.
Thank you. Great advice. And I'm going to let Aisha talk. Just one last quick question for Shante. I get the sense, since I've been at York, there's a strong Black students presence here. I sort of can feel it even when I was walking around campus. And I just wanted you, again, being new to York, to elaborate on that for me, Shante.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I definitely think that there is a large like Black presence at York, like 2 different reasons. So you have like the UCI club, which is the Caribbean club, as well as you have like I know the Nigerian Association, or I think overall you have UPSA is the biggest one that I can think of. I'm not sure if you follow these pages on Instagram, but that'd be a good way to like get in contact with them because UPSA is like the Black Student Association at York. So I am not a part of it, but I do go to some of their events. I think that would be a great way for you to meet other people. But just overall, I think York is a very diverse campus. So anything that you do, really, you will come across like people that are Black or, you know, Asian, whatever it may be. But I definitely think like the presence at our school is really, really big. But I would advise you to like follow the pages on Instagram. So UPSA, the Black Future Lawyers, UCI, all those pages are really good to like keep up with.
And I see there's like a Black Excellence page or even a network of Black Excellence BU or BYU or yeah.
I haven't come across that one, but there probably is one.
Okay. Thanks, panel. Thanks for taking the time to answer my questions. It's a great event. Thank you for everybody.
Thanks for asking the questions. That was great advice. Aisha, I think you have a question.
I have a question. what if you're in a field that traditionally does use LinkedIn for networking? What other platforms can you use? So when I think there were some things that were mentioned today, which is I'm not used to going to York because I live far away and I went to Ryerson before, which was more convenient. To be honest, I'm one of those people who don't want the university to open, but yeah, that is a different story. But my question is, I'm in the social work and education field. So commonly I find that I struggle with is a lot of people that are in those fields, they don't commonly, I've tried networking and I don't get anywhere with it because, and their profile doesn't really have a lot of information either on it. And it could be for the younger generation or new first year, third year, or fourth year, but I want to connect with the people who are older, who maybe are seasoned more into like HR and, like can show me the path a little bit, not necessarily the ones that I have to tell what to do, So my theory, I'm just wondering how do you network with people who, because the business field and marketing, law, they tend to network a little bit more on LinkedIn, but not so much on education and social work.
What I just want to say before I pass it on to the panelists is that a lot of people that may not be on LinkedIn, for example, but like there will be a few people that would be, and they can connect you with someone they know that isn't on LinkedIn. For example, if you meet with somebody that is on LinkedIn, right, and is in HR, for example, right, yes. And then you could ask them, do you know anyone in your personal network that you think I should talk to? Right? So that would lead you to talk to someone that would be a great resource, but may not necessarily be on LinkedIn. And that person you met on LinkedIn can maybe get you that person's email. Okay. So like it's like a door. LinkedIn is like the door. So I wouldn't say like shut that door. I would say like find the one person, if there's only one person that is in HR that is on LinkedIn, and then ask that person, do you know anyone in your personal network? Like, could you introduce us or link us, right? Could you introduce me to that person, right? So that's what I would say. Does any of the panelists want to chime in?
I'm in education. I'm in the Teachers College program at York as well. And the way that I networked in Teachers College was, because we were on Zoom, was through private Zoom chats. So when we were in class, one of my friends or I would message and be like, hey, all of us are forming a group chat. Do you want to be part of it? Additionally, like in e-class, if you go to participants, it comes up as like all of our emails come up. And in one or two of my classes, I sent an email and blind copied everyone and put a link for a WhatsApp group chat and kind of made a group chat for the class. And it really kind of helped all of us. But if you don't really want to do that, there's also the, it's called
group chats for classes.
Yeah, we have FESA, it's Faculty of Education Students Association. I'll drop the link in the chat, but that'll connect you with other teachers as well. And I know they run events, I want to say once a month or once every couple months or maybe every couple weeks. But they also send emails out to everybody. So that would be a good place to go to network as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Dan, do you have a question?
I'm back. Sorry, I just realized that we have a lot of students in Teachers College on the call. So I wanted to weigh in a little bit, and then Ria might weigh in too. So I'm in the second year of the Bachelor of Education program. I have been doing a fair amount of networking in practicum in my placement. So I spend a couple of days each week working in a school, and it gives me the contact with all of these sort of new teachers. Some of them have been in the profession for a long time. Some of them just got to the school where I'm working as a teacher candidate. So sharing stories with them has been really helpful. They've directed me to a few different opportunities for summer work or for part-time work, for supply. There are a few very active Facebook groups full of aspiring teachers trying to find work in Ontario. Some of those groups are very powerful. I think that the idea to get rid of, for lack of a better phrase, the math proficiency test came from a group that started on Facebook. There's a group on Facebook, I believe it's called Occasional Teachers of Ontario. And it's a massive Q&A forum that also involves people changing positions here and there and referring each other to opportunities. So I might be able to search for the exact name because I'm not sure that's the exact name of the group. But if LinkedIn isn't giving you what you're looking for, then looking for groups with large numbers of entrants on Facebook could be your ticket to some key networking opportunities. Ria, did you want to weigh in at all on that? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a co-chair of a York region-based coalition in education advocacy. And one of the things that, we've kind of learned throughout this entire presentation is it's about who you know and making those connections with people that will help you land that job, especially in a field where it's very difficult to get a job. And so getting involved in volunteering in organizations and coalitions that are focused on addressing a lot of issues in these careers and in these professions will actually enable you to network with people in higher positions. I apologize, my puppy's throwing a tantrum. Network with people in higher positions, meet superintendents, meet people who are going to hire you in the future, and also people who can give you really good recommendations to get into those positions. So just looking for those unconventional pathways, because not everyone is in business, not everyone is in law, not everyone is in those professions where networking is common and occurs at a lot of events that are held throughout the year or in programs. So it's really about seeking out those opportunities and then also just kind of following your passion wherever that goes. This guy's on something else today. I'm so sorry. But feel free to connect. I can share some information about that coalition in the chat if any of you are interested.
Okay. Sorry, Ria, your dog was cracking me up. But anyway, that I don't know if we should take any more questions. Dan, what do you think?
There's one more in the chat.
Okay.
Let's try that one and then maybe we'll leave it there.
Was it the one from Ria?
No, just above from May.
Can you read it? If you
Sure,
can.
absolutely. So May is asking, do you think it's effective to network with people who are outside your chosen field or the field that you want to pursue?
Absolutely. I think that's what you should actually do, honestly. Like I'm myself, I'm a curious person, right? So like I enjoy learning. I was talking with someone in church yesterday about healthcare, right? And like she like manufactures like drugs in the healthcare department, right? And like I have no interest in that field, but just knowing about that field, like I think I won't say it's important, right? But I think it's valuable, learning more and having more information. So do any one of the panelists want to chime in on it? Networking outside of your field.
I think that networking outside of your field is honestly a great idea. And if it doesn't help you maybe professionally, it could always help you, maybe even in, sorry, I'm tripping over my words. It could help you even in a academic field. I've met so many people in my classes that are not in my chosen field, but are my classmates. And, we help each other out on assignments or even answer questions or share notes or something like that. Even in Frosh, for example, or playing sports, not everyone is in your chosen field. Not everyone wants to be a teacher and is also a history and geography major. But, if they can't help you academically or professionally, they're also great friends. So I definitely think that networking outside of your chosen field is also really beneficial.
Amazing. Okay, this brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Thank you all for listening to this presentation. A big thank you to all the panelists, and I will be passing it on to Dan and Priya. I really appreciate y'all for coming out, honestly.
Just like Fikayo said, thank you all so much for attending. Thank you to our lovely MC who just radiates this positive energy that's so unique. Thank you to our panelists who have taken such different paths to student success and for sharing their breadth and their scope of experience. It's been really enjoyable working with you over the past several weeks and watching you sort of gain confidence as you've prepared for your roles. The peer mentor coordinators gave you a skeleton and you filled that skeleton with all of this knowledge and experience and stories that are so rich, and we just felt that they really needed to be shared. So we're so glad that you could have the platform to share them. Thank you again for coming. And please, we still haven't had a message from the winners of our prize. So if you could follow up with me and share your email address, I want to be able to give you your prize. So please send me a message.